Hello, this is Professor Frederick Krantz, Director of the Canadian Institute for Jewish Research. We're doing our weekly Isralert briefing on Israel-related issues. It is the 7th Isralert, and today's date is January 25th, 2013. Our topic today will be the results and consequences of Israel's recent election. Now, much ink has been spilled on this, the nature of this election and its meaning, and there are a couple of observations that I'd like to make as we get into the discussion. First, the polls on this election were entirely wrong, and it shows us the truth of the old saying. There are lies, damned lies, and statistics. The statistics, the polls, got it entirely wrong. They predicted a marked right-wing shift in the Israeli electorate. What's happened is not exactly the reverse, but something very different. On domestic issues, a very clear centrist emphasis in the electorate. It's a very high turnout for this election, almost 70%. And people concerned with social and economic issues. And they returned one party, the Yes, There Is a Future party, Yesh Atid, of Yair Lapid, and he got 19 votes, making it the second largest party in the Knesset. On the other hand, the Likud and Yisrael Beitenu coalition, or union, while off, it had 42 votes in the last election, got 31 this one, nevertheless remains the single largest party. And it will be Netanyahu who will be tasked by President Perez with forging a coalition. The issue is the nature of the coalition, of course. And here the interesting thing is that while there is a centrist emphasis domestically, in foreign policy, the issue of what to do in relation to the Palestinians, to the Arab Spring, Syria, Egypt, and above all, of course, the Iranian nuclear push, here, in fact, there is a soft right emphasis in the election, which reinforces Netanyahu. And I think we should be aware that the election was called at this time in part, if not in large part, by Netanyahu in order to have a kind of referendum, a national vote, on his tough anti-Iranian policy, the policy of having to intervene to prevent the Iranians from getting nuclear capacity. And that's an issue which is coming up shortly, very shortly. The next several months, the Iranians are predicted by many, many observers, including the IAEA, International Atomic Energy Association, to reach nuclear capability, to have enough uranium, processed uranium, to make several bombs. And that's the red line that Netanyahu has publicly committed Israel to. So the election is interesting because it actually returned, and I'll try and outline this in a moment, a kind of center-right or soft-right foreign policy consensus in Israel. And that is most interesting indeed. Now what do I mean by that? You have the Likud at 31 votes. You have the Yesh Atid party, the Yes, There Is a Future party, centrist, Yair Lapid with 19 votes. You have a right-wing party to the right of Netanyahu, tougher line being taken on the Palestinians, peace process, two-state solution, etc., settlements, so-called, headed by Naftali, it'll come to me in a moment. That party got, I think, 11 or 12 votes. And those votes were siphoned away from, in fact, from Netanyahu. But with those 12 votes, Netanyahu and his Likud comes back up to strength, assuming that that party will enter the coalition. Naftali Bennett is the name of the leader, a very attractive young politician of the Jewish Home Party, it's called. Then you have the traditional religious parties like Shas, right? And you have some other parties on the center-left. Labor, which under Shelley Yachimovich, a woman, leader, which went down in the election, focusing only on domestic issues. And then you have the party of Tzipi Livni, who was the leader of Kadima. You may recall that Kadima in 2009, the last election, had 29 votes. She had the largest number of votes, but she couldn't make a coalition. And that party has disappeared. It's been transformed. She ran under her own name, and she got only 2 votes. But it is possible that certain of the issues dividing the center and the right can be glossed over. One of them is the two-state solution issue. Lapid is, in general, pro-two-state. Naftali Bennett, against two-state. He wants to annex much of the West Bank. But there are accommodations that can be reached. Issues can be postponed. Lapid has said he's not in favor of rushing into a two-state solution, particularly with Abu Mazen increasingly seen as an unreliable partner. Things that are happening in Egypt, Syria, now in Mali, lend a notion of caution to Israeli foreign policy. So that's all on the back burner. One of the clear indications of this election is that the Palestinian issue is now on a back burner. There's no rush. Palestinians have not come forward, and Israel is in no rush to deal with them, which makes it possible for the coalition to, in fact, come into being. So it's quite possible that as a result of this election, we could find one of the broadest center-right coalitions in Israel's recent history, up to 72, 74 votes. And in a way that is quite interesting. The last thing I want to say here, it shows us that there is a broad consensus in the electorate about what we call foreign policy, which in Israel's terms is regional policy. And it's a policy of always survival. The broad consensus is go slow in relation to the Palestinians and the Arab Spring, which is turning into an Arab winter, and a kind of unity on what to do about Iran. And the issue of what to do about Iran is going to come to a head within the next 3, 4, 5 months, as far as we can see. As soon as they approach nuclear capability, Israel will have to act. So thank you very much. Tune in next week for Isralert number 8. Take care. Shalom.